In this presentation, we are going to look at the role of the Soviet Union or USSR in eradicating or towards eradicating apartheid government policy or apartheid political structure in South Africa. At the heart of the apartheid regime or apartheid political structure in South Africa, the world was seriously engaged in a Cold War situation. The USSR and her satellite states against the mainly Western powers. The two major ideologies then was the capitalists and the communists. Well, being that there was this situation, and the USSR had a policy or had the understanding of equity, whereby they believe that all human races are equal in theory, while to a certain level they exhibited it within their territory. Then, seen as well that South Africa was a major interest of major interest to the capitalists, the USSR made concrete move to eradicate apartheid government. For this, they supported the African Nationalists. Well, their support frustrated and angered the apartheid government in South Africa. And it became a source of worry for them because USSR at that time was a superpower, and one that was wielding or was holding veto power capacity in the United Nations organization. The South African government, out of frustration, started labeling African nationalists as communists. In 1950, they passed the Anti-Communist Suppression Act. Anti-Communist Suppression Act. With this law or with this act, they started labeling African nationalists that we are fighting for liberation, fighting against the apartheid structures and policies as communists. This debate became a ploy used by the South African government, and it became a platform for which some other nations that were supporting the apartheid regime, or whether directly or indirectly, it became a ploy for these nations to continue supporting the apartheid regime in South Africa. The major nations at that period, they were using this as a ploy to support the apartheid regime. We are the United Kingdom, the United States of America, France, and Japan. These countries continued supporting the South African apartheid government under the pretense that the communists were trying to take over their interest in South Africa. But prior to this time, or within this period, the communists or the USSR never had any investment in South Africa, never had any major economic role or interest in South Africa. So there was no basis for the support of the apartheid government. Well, the United Nations and as well the Commonwealth made serious moves to put pressure on the South African apartheid government. But most of these moves were blocked by some of the nations supporting apartheid government. Although the USSR, as at that period, was holding veto power and tried to push in sanctions against the apartheid government. But as the superpower, there were other powers that were as well holding veto powers. Most of the moves to initiate sanctions on the platform of the United Nations or any other platform were vetoed and blocked by some of these countries supporting the apartheid government in South Africa. Well, this continued like this, but the USSR, in another way, rendered moral, military, and political support to the African nationalists that were fighting for the abolition of the apartheid regime in South Africa. As I earlier said, this particular move became a platform for the apartheid government in South Africa to label these people as communists and started moving against them with all brutality. We have seen the outcome of such in the Sharpeville massacre and a whole lot of things that happened in South Africa against the blacks. A whole lot of segregational policies, laws focused towards segregation, laws that deprived Africans of their properties, laws that segregated Africans, they passed laws, they abolition to Mixed Marriage Act, and a whole lot of laws. Well, upon the separation or the seizure of existence by the USSR in 1990, or would I say the collapse of the USSR in 1990, each of the countries that made up the USSR went their separate ways. It was only Russia that was to be the largest and to a certain level that had some level of higher power. But as at that period, as a new nation, Russia could not be said to be a superpower. By the collapse of the USSR, the influence of the USSR towards supporting or the support of the African nationalists came to a halt. Well, other factors and other things took over. There was as well the African factor against the apartheid regime in South Africa, which later led to the total removal or total collapse of the apartheid regime in South Africa. If you're watching our presentation for the very first time, please subscribe to our channel and click on the notification icon so that anytime we bring up or present a new content, you'll be one of the earliest persons to be notified. Thanks for still being part of our channel.